Greetings, everyone. This is Eric Stewart from Fishing Fanatics, and I got an awesome guest today, Brayden Rakes, who competed on the Big Bass Tour for about 7 years and now fishes the Bassmaster Open. So, how you doing, Brayden?
Doing great. Super happy to be here with you. Grateful for the invitation. Yeah, excited about the podcast.
Absolutely. I'm excited to jump in a little bit more about your career, especially Big Bass Tour and some other things you're doing with the university and coaching college. But to start off, I always like asking, it's kind of a good icebreaker. What's your story about how you got into fishing? Because there's a lot of guys out there who might be fishing with your parents or maybe fished in high school, fished in college a little bit. But what's your story about how and what hooked you into bass fishing?
Absolutely. I was my dad definitely took me fishing when I was a youngster. I catching bluegill when I could barely walk. But my dad was when I got into middle school. He was working and there was a pond about, I don't know, probably half a mile from our house. I lived in Orlando, and me and my friend and I, we would walk to this pond. And I remember saving up like all my money back then to get like this $20, rod and reel. Bought a couple of baits my first so I bought a couple baits at Walmart and got me going, but somebody else at the pond was fishing a popper, and I saw them catch a fish on top water, and I promise you it changed my life. I was like, whatever just happened, I got to do that. So I remember going to Kmart and buying a popper, and you catch, and this is Florida, so you catch like 5-pounders are in every pond. So we caught a couple 5-pounders that summer on a popper, and I literally it's all I've ever wanted to do. So yeah,
Dude, that topwater is a whole different game, because actually that story is exactly how I got hooked too. I got my first bite on a frog through lily pad.
oh Lord.
And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like,
Dude, that was so speaking of frogfish, like so at the Wheeler event at the Bassmaster Open on Wheeler, first day of practice, the very first fish I catch is like a 4-pound smallie on a popping frog. And I've never caught a smallie on a frog before. The smallie on a frog, dude, that bite was unreal. It actually ended up being the same place I fished the entire Derby. But yeah, dude, there's something about topwater though, and even especially like even a frog bite, and you mix in some smallmouth in there, and it's incredible.
just smallmouth, pure muscle too. Just
Dude, I'm telling you, I had never seen a smallmouth blow up on a frog until that day, and I was like a little kid all over again. I was like, I don't know what just happened, but I got to do that the rest of the Derby.
I love it. I know. I like going up to Lake Oneida, and there's a certain time of the year where we go up there and we throw these like topwater spooks up there, and it almost seems like anywhere you cast, there's just smallmouth coming out of the water and hit it. And they're not giant smallmouth, but like they're just so much fun to catch.
Dude, the aggression that they hit stuff with is just like unrivaled. It's just pure rage. I love it. I love it. But
And then they take you for a ride too.
oh, I know,
Underneath the
it's so
boat.
addicting, dude. Like, yeah, I kind of messed up my spot. There was like another tournament happening that day, and there were some people fishing around, but no one else was like throwing topwater or frog or anything. And I caught that big smallie, and there was like another local driving by, saw me catch it, immediately shut down, and just pulled in right where I was, and they started catching a couple. I peeled out. I didn't want to apply any more pressure to those fish, but yeah, man, dude, topwater is got to be one of the, if you don't get addicted to fishing through topwater, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same.
Yeah.
Like I remember starting with I started fly fishing. That was like the first thing I got into, and it was always like the dry flies. It was like I always enjoyed seeing a trout hit a dry fly, but then bass, whole different game. Like I mean, it's unbelievable. But cool, man. So let's jump into your career a little bit. So 7 years fishing the Big Bass Tour. Now, it's something that I actually never heard of before I started looking into you and started seeing that. So can you just fill me in and our listeners in on what that format kind of looks like for them?
Yeah, so Big Bass Tour, they are a purely big fish tournament. They pay out $1,000 every hour, all the way down to like $100. And so they pay out 10 places down to like $100 first place is $1,000, and it's mainly here on the like southeast region of the country. They are in Texas for the Lake Conroe tournament, which was where they got their start. But yeah, I think I kind of started fishing the Big Bass Tour events because it was an easy way to make like pretty good money without having to fish if you win a VFL, how much money are you winning most of the time at most places versus you only have to catch one of the biggest fish for the hour to win $1,000. And then back then they had talent rewards. So if you had talons on your boat, which I did, it would get matched for another 1,000. So it was, most events, it would be like $2,000 for one big fish. So I started fishing their events. Eventually they asked my wife and I to help with their social. And so we were doing that for a while. And I had a great time traveling around and fishing a ton of big fish tournaments, and kind of got to focus on just getting one big bite a day, and kind of shifting back to fly fish has been a whole other thing. But so we ended up winning the Harris Chain event in 2020. We won a Nitro Z19, I think it was, and sold that pretty quick, and kind of had the money and resources to go all in to fish the Bassmaster Open. So that's what we did.
Dude, that's insane. So when you're out there, right? Because I do a lot of that same fishing. When you're kind of looking when I go fishing, I'm looking for that one bass. Like, where's that one bass? And up here in PA, it's probably like a 5 to 7 pounder, right? But when you're looking for that one bass in like a tournament setting, what are you kind of looking for? Are you only hitting like main key spots, and like what are you kind of throwing?
Yeah, I definitely think you got to stay in like high percentage areas, but I'll give you like a quick example. So the spawn was pretty much done at Wheeler for the most part, and but I pulled into a spawning creek where I could see like a lot of old beds, and I was catching a ton of fry garters and even some males that I felt like were probably still on bed. But there was no females anywhere to be seen. And so during the event, when I got into that creek, there was like 2 or 3 other boats on the banks just kind of beating around in there. So there really wasn't room for me to get in. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. I didn't see any big ones up in practice over there. So I literally just got in the ditch of this creek and just started throwing a Cinco in the middle of the ditch. And the ditch was like, 6 to 8 foot. And just fishing a Cinco in the middle of the ditch real slow, throwing at isolated patches of grass. I think some of it was actually hydrilla, there wasn't a lot of hydrilla on Wheeler to be found, but and I ended up getting that big bite, and I caught one probably close to 6, right? I didn't weigh it for big fish, but it was big. And I caught that one, and when I caught that fish, I was like, all right, we got to build a bag today. Today's our day. So yeah, but that's kind of how that's how I like to approach it, especially when seasonally what's happening. So in that particular area, it was really easy to see like these fish were on their way back out, and I think if you can logically follow their footsteps, so to speak, you can really put your finger on the pulse of what's happening pretty quick, and just follow where they should be headed. And a lot of times it is the most obvious thing. Like, it's not this hidden weird, a lot of it is just fishing the most obvious, like getting in that ditch. That fish was in the very first depression where the ditch started in that creek. It wasn't all the way out at the mouth. It was right there where the depression first started at the back of that creek. Super obvious spot. And when you think about it, it's obvious, but in the moment when the pressure's on, it's really easy to just focus and be like, I got to make a million casts, And I think some of it's just slowing down and making obvious decisions about where they should be. And if you get enough of it, it goes well.
And did you do that on day 2 on Wheeler?
That was day 1. That was day 1 on Wheeler. Okay. Yep. Gotcha. I ended up burning way too many fish on day 1. I caught probably more than 30 fish on day 1 at Wheeler, but there was other boats around, and so I felt like if I didn't burn them, somebody else was going to burn them. So I really caught more than I should have in the two areas that I fished, and that kind of ate me up on day 2 a little bit, but it's all good. You know, we had to make decisions in the moment, and I think we made the right decision. So
Mm-hmm. No, I got you. Because day 1 about 18 pounds ish, and then day 2 11 pounds, right?
yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Gotcha.
I had that big one ended up dying on me on day 1, and really freak deal. I think the fish just got the bends coming out of, like, you know, that 6 to 8 foot, which is crazy. I would never thought a fish would get the bends coming out of something not that deep, but yeah, fish got the bends. I really tried to save her. I spent a lot of time trying to save her and just couldn't nurse her back. But yeah, that was day 1. I had like 18, 13, 18 something, but dead fish penalty cost me a little bit on that. And then on day 2 I had 11, I don't know, upper 11, I don't remember what it was, something like
11,
that.
15, I'm looking at it now.
Yep. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was a fun event. Um, Caught a lot of fish on a frog too, which was really fun.
That's
Um,
real fun.
yeah, dude, that frog
So
bite's
the
the best.
so you fished a lot of different styles of like tournament fishing, right? You did the Big Bass Tour, which is basically just one fish. You did, I believe, you fished MLF also, in the years past, and then now you're fishing the Bassmaster EQ Opens, as an angler there. Tell me about the Opens and how it compares to kind of the other tournaments that you fished.
I think what I appreciate about bass is, I don't know if pageantry is the right word, but it's like the way they carry out the event is it's just top. No one puts on an event like bass, and I think being there and being part of it, it's just it's a totally different vibe than MLF, and that's not to take a stab at MLF at all, for like, because I did fish some of the Toyotas last year, but just the way that Bass puts on an event is just unreal and world class. And yeah, super excited to be part of their trail this year. I was glad to put together a good event at Wheeler, and hoping we can put together a few more good events coming through. Head to Eufaula here in another few days, so looking
Yep.
forward to that one.
You got Eufaula, and then you got the St. Lawrence River too, right after
Yeah,
that.
2 places I've never been. I think it's going to be a blast. I'm excited about Eufaula. Haven't spent much energy thinking about the St. Lawrence, but whenever I do think about it, I'm like so stoked to get there and catch some smallies. I've never been up there. I've never been north to fish, so this is going to be like awesome.
Yeah, it should be a great time.
I've heard incredible stuff, so I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm hoping maybe, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
It's awesome. Cool, man. All right, so let's talk about college fishing.
Yeah.
That's something I always like to talk about. It's kind of, we were hitting on it before. It's something that I'm not super familiar with. I talked to a couple of people on the podcast about it, but I know you're the head coach of
Evangel.
Evangel University, bass fishing head coach. And tell me a little bit about your program you guys got there and what you guys are doing.
We just started the program. I am like super pumped. We're in the middle of recruiting. We signed our first 2 students just the last couple months. We have about 6 more spots open. So if anybody's listening and interested, or knows a high school fisherman that is looking for a great place to get an education, a Christian school with an amazing environment that is going to build one of the best fishing programs in the country, reach out to me on Instagram. I would absolutely love to talk to you about it. But we recently signed, the first student we signed coming out of high school won the Missouri State tournament, a high school tournament last year. He's a total stick, and we got his fishing partner, and they are absolute hammers. I'm super pumped to have them on campus and to be representing us. And yeah, I college fishing is taking over. If you have an opportunity to fish collegiately, you absolutely should, because the amount of doors that it opens for an angler's incredible. So yeah, I think any high school angler who wants to compete or be in the fishing industry as a whole in the future, man, what better place to meet the right people than through fishing collegiately. So yeah, I'm excited to be heading up the program, doing some recruiting, and yeah, it's been awesome.
I think that's a big thing. You just hit on a big thing there. Like maybe, if a high schooler's dream isn't, it probably is to fish in the Opens or the Elite Series and bass, but like maybe there's also a part of it's like, what, I just want to be in fishing somehow. I feel like that's a great first step to take, right? Go fish collegiately, go try your hand at it for 4 years, and you come out of it with a bunch of great connections.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just even like fishing the Opens for um like 3 events now, I think it's been, and the amount of people that you meet is just, it's incredible. And the fishing industry is such a small, tight-knit group. Getting to know people is absolutely, it's everything in our sport. And man, there's just no better way to network than to actually be in the network, you know. So if anybody looking to do anything in the industry absolutely should get their start in college fishing, in my opinion. So
Love it.
yeah.
And where are you guys located, just for our listeners?
We are located in Springfield, Missouri, right by Bass Pro Shops headquarters, kind of the heart of bass fishing country, if you will. There's some amazing lakes right there. You have Table Rock, and there's a few little hidden gems around there too. I Lake of the Ozarks is another obvious one, but there's like a lot of little hidden gems, lakes around there that I've been hearing about that I haven't even got to put the boat in the water in on yet. But man, it's definitely, the soul of bass fishing is so strong out there, and so much of the industry is right there that it's a great spot, man. I'm excited for our program, just for yeah, just the amount of open doors I think that exist right in our backyard is really exciting. So
I love it. I love it. Awesome, man. Cool. So let's wrap it up here. I always like asking people what's your personal best largemouth and personal best smallmouth?
great question. So the scale died when I was weighing my biggest largemouth ever, and so the real truth is I don't know how big that fish was. I'm like, the scale died and it was 11 and change. The biggest fish I've ever caught in a tournament was the 10.6 that I weighed in for the Big Bass Tour event that won the boat. And so, but as far as personal best, I'm not really 100% sure. I got the fish back pretty quick. So, but and then smallmouth, man, my best smallmouth is probably like 4.5, 5 pounds. Like, I haven't spent a lot of time smallmouth fishing, so that's why I'm really pumped about the northern swing here, because hopefully we'll get to break my PB this year for
Oh,
smallies.
hey, you should be able to break that up at the St. Lawrence River for sure.
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. It's gonna be, so ask me in like a month for
Yeah.
smallmouth.
We'll do a little wrap up there too at the end of the season, and we'll touch notes on that. But it's funny. So real quick, how big was the bass that actually ended up winning you the boat?
Yeah, the bass. Yeah, it was a 10.6, and the cool thing is I actually weighed in an 888 right before that one, and I lost one probably about the same size. So it was one of those days where it just, dude, everything lined up. Yeah, I caught several big ones that day. I think I even weighed in like a 5. It was unreal, dude. It was just absolutely unreal. Dream day. My dad got to be in the boat for the fish. The video is actually on TikTok. It has like 1.6 million views or something. I don't know, maybe more now, but we went viral there for a little bit on TikTok with that video. It was that spot where I caught that fish, man. I'm not sure will ever be the same because everybody who's ever fished the Harris Chain now, like the volume of boats over there is wild. I think everybody triangulated me, but it's all good, man. It's all good. It was worth posting the video. So
I love it. People are just trying to like waiting for it to come back.
that's it, man. Everyone's like dying to like, where were you at? I'm like, how much information do I give? But the video really kind of gives it away if you know the Harris Chain. So, but yeah, it was a heck of a derby, man. It was a fun one, and I actually was sight fishing for her, so I was creeping down the bank real slow.
Business owners and marketing professionals in the Philly area, Bad Rhino takes the overwhelm out of digital marketing. With tailored digital marketing services, from social media management to SEO and PPC advertising, our expert team navigates the complexities of the digital ad space for your business. Let Bad Rhino lead you to success. Visit badrhinoinc.com and let's take your business to new heights. Bad Rhino, we do digital marketing, so you don't have to.
All right, Brandon. So one question that's been kind of nagging in the back of my head here, as you've been talking about big fish and all that, and you know the different tournaments that you fish. I throw a lot of swim baits, big swim baits like Hinkles and you know different stuff like that, like Shad Pros, and all this stuff. How much of that have you seen over the past couple of years been incorporated into those big fish tournaments that you fish?
They are, to me, one of the biggest tools for finding big fish. I don't always target what I find with those baits. I don't always target those fish with those baits. Sometimes I do, you know, but a lot of times too, like even like if you watch the elites or guys that throw those big baits, man, the hookup to land ratio on those baits is so terrifying that like if I can get them to eat something else, a lot of times I'll try that. So if I get a fish to show themselves in practice, I'll come back and throw something else. Now, sometimes you just have to live and die by the big bait. And anytime you're around big fish, like, you know, lakes that just are known for, you know, 6+ pounders, I will absolutely just lock it in my hand and not put it down, you know. But I'm in North Carolina and Lake Norman's in my backyard. So a lot of it in practice is often just getting the fish to show themselves who's where and then coming back. But yeah, it's totally changed the game. I think big baits are here to stay, man. I really think they are becoming a staple in everybody's arsenal. I eat from coast to coast. I think they play, and who would have thought? You know, I grew up watching a lot of the swim bait stuff, trout eaters, and all this cool, you know, southern trout eaters, all those cool videos that were happening back in the day, and see how far swim baits have come, and even what these guys are making now is just so high quality that for highly pressured fish, there's just nothing that you can get them to take a swipe at. You know what I mean? So if it's all that you can get them to eat, you got to throw it. It just, it's a dangerous game.
Funny. Yeah. I throw a lot of the Depths 250, and that's like my classic bait where like, if I can't get anything else to at least follow my bait, I'm throwing that thing just to see if I can call them up from the deep.
So I'll tell you what bait I'm about to give some juice now. I really shouldn't do this because this is like literally doesn't come off my rod from like now till August, but I really like to throw bluegill swim baits, and I actually really like to throw floaters. Guy that is kind of local to my area, it's makes tater hog. He makes a bluegill imitation swim bait that I have caught more big fish on. Like, it's scary to think about the volume of fish over 6 pounds that I've caught because of that bait, and fish that I would have never caught otherwise. and they come out of the woodwork for it, man. Like, I don't even know where these fish come from. It's like they just show themselves. It really is wild, and especially this time of the year, we got the bluegill spawn happening, and into the summer, man, those bass really get keyed up on some bluegill. And if all you do is throw the shad ones, you're definitely missing out, because the bluegill imitation ones are some of the best. I missed a 4-pounder on it at Wheeler. Actually, I was throwing it, trying to get one more big bite, and I got one to come up and eat it, and the fish ate it so aggressively that my line went tight. Like, as soon as the fish ate it, my line was just tight, and it, like, couldn't react fast enough on the hook set. Like, just the rage that they hit it with sometimes is insane. I mean, it was like just line tight, and I whiffed, but it was solid, like 4-pounder. If I could have that one back, I probably would have fished the last egg.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's like that. That's what I'm talking about with big baits too, though. Sometimes you don't get the hook in them always, but man, they're fun.
They are a great time.
They're absolutely fun.
I've heard of Tater Hogs before, that company. I've heard a couple other ones, like Doc Rat makes a pretty good impression of a glide. It's a gill. Couple other ones too. So do you like the crank downs, the wakes, or the glides? What's like your go-to with the gills?
I with the gills, I like the glides, but I like the floaters.
Yeah.
So I really I know that probably sounds bizarre for like summertime fishing, but when they get keyed up around these bluegill beds, dude, it's great. I will literally, like, if it's gonna be if I'm fishing bluegill beds, I would just throw that thing to the bluegill bed and not even hardly twitch it. I've let it sit there for 10, 20 seconds before with like one twitch, and they will come up and eat it. Like, you don't have to like work it back to the boat. You just cook it. It's crazy, dude. It really is crazy. I think that's the other thing guys can get kind of wrong with it when you're trying to, like, you can do too much. It's almost like throwing a Cinco around bluegill beds. If you take your time with it, they come out for it.
Especially if it's a floater too, because you could just kind of let that thing glide right up top. Just let it sit.
Yes. And if you have, I'm telling you, some of the best, I don't want to tell you the lakes because guys will go do it, but there are lakes that I almost won a tournament. I should have won a tournament last year fishing the Toyota Series. I lost like 2 8s on day 2 on it that would have broke one off, but it was a sad story. But if you're willing to throw it, man, the rewards can be insane.
Mm-hmm. And it is fun fishing too, right? Especially if you're just going out there for fun, just trying to catch that one big fish. It's
exactly, man. If you're just hunting for one, why not, right? It's kind of reminds me of like a frog bite, but I think it's the perfect way when you don't have grass or you're not really relating to grass. It's a perfect way to target those same fish that you would target with, like walking a frog around like isolated cover or that kind of stuff. Man, you just throw this thing around isolated cover or bluegill beds and that kind of stuff, and it's really the same. You're targeting the same fish in a different way. It's definitely the deal.
It is good.
No doubt in my mind.
Matt Lures makes a good one too. Decent floating gill. It's not a glide. I think it's a swimmer, but I know he's got some decent ones out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. There's another guy I've been following on Instagram. I'm trying to place an order with him right now that he's making one. He's kind of new to the scene. Well, I just heard about him. I don't know how new he is. He's probably not new, but he's kind of starting to take off though. Zaldane just got some of them too. I saw it on his video. I can see the bait in my head, but I can't pull the name. It's gonna drive me nuts, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you got to pay for them now. They're not cheap. Like it hurts the amount of money that I've dropped on these baits, but it's worth it to get the bite. It's worth it.
I'm the same exact way. Like the Psycho Gills and the other like the Piz swim baits. It honestly, you got to pay for them, and they're tough to come by. Sometimes
they are tough to come by, man. I know. I'm waiting for. So I have like one hinkle that I'm like terrified to lose, but I'm watching for a few pizzas to come up on eBay right now. I really, really want to get one. The phony frog. That's the guy I'm thinking of.
Yep.
I'm trying to get a couple phonies. He's got a gill that looks incredible. If I can get my hands on that phony soon, dude, that thing looks like the real deal.
I saw the phony down at the swim bait gathering. The last one that they did, I saw it down there. Literally was gonna buy one, and I was like, I just ran out of money. I can't afford it.
I know, dude. I know, man. Like I'm like, it's like you got to save up for them, you know. And instead of like buying a new reel or something, you're buying a swim bait. Like, yeah, that'd be the one. That's like the one thing that makes it back into the truck after every day is the swim bait box. You know, I'm like, where y'all can steal a lot of stuff, y'all cannot steal my swim baits. There's too much money sitting in that box. It's scary, man.
That's cool. I'm glad you figured. Yeah, phony. They make really good shack glides and gill glides. So really realistic gills. Like it looks like a real gill.
Dude. It does look like a real gill. I cannot wait. I was texting them 2 days ago. I cannot wait to try it out because, I feel like the gill thing is a deal that not that many people have caught on to yet. A lot of people are on the glide bait deal, but not many people are on the bluegill glide deal, and it's a deal. It's definitely a deal. So, yeah, you didn't hear that from me though.
Nope, definitely not on the Fishing Fanatics podcast. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
Cool, buddy. All right, we'll wrap it up here. I just always like to kind of give you the floor. Ask any social medias that you got, any websites or any things like that. People can follow along with you.
Awesome, yeah. So you can find me on TikTok at Braden Rakes, and then you can also find me on Instagram at Braden Rakes as well. Yeah.
Cool, man.
Those are my main platforms.
Nice. I'll link them on the description. People can go check you out. Hopefully you catch a nice big one on that phony glide once you get it. Look forward to possibly doing like end of the season recap on the opens too. Have you back on here?
Dude. Dude, let's do it, man. That'd be awesome.
Cool, man. Sounds good. I appreciate the time.
Right. Yeah, dude. Thanks, man.
Yep. All right. Have a good one.
You too.
You just listened to the Fishing Fanatics podcast with your host, Eric Stewart. Feel free to check out our other podcasts and our other interviews on our channel on Spotify, YouTube, and much more. Check out our Instagram page, TikTok, and Facebook as well.